I went back to school, and my kindergartners always go to the pumpkin patch every year. And I was never a big fan of the pumpkin patch, only because I love to have fun, which you'll find that I have in there a tape called Nothing Happens Until People Are Having Fun. I always felt like it was great to go back, go to the pumpkin patch, but everything had to have some curricular meaning and alignment. And of course the teachers know that. They really take the kids to the pumpkin patch to get a pumpkin. But they know that principals want them to come up with goals and objectives, so they make up stuff. And they'll say, well, we're going to teach them the color orange, and we're going to teach them fractions, and we're going to teach them how to make a pie, and we're going to count the pumpkin seeds, and all of these things. So I had always signed it reluctantly, but this particular year, after going to Virginia Tech, I didn't sign it. And I didn't know why I hadn't signed it. It was in my office, and they came in and said, Miss Jessie, you didn't sign our field trip permission to go to the pumpkin patch. And I said, well, why do we go to the pumpkin patch? And they were like, what? And they gave me the usual fractions, color orange, you know. And I said, why aren't our kids going to college instead of a pumpkin patch? And, well, the school went into a panic, because I was a high-performing school, but there was a price to pay for that, because I had people saying that you don't want to go work at Vaughn because she's going to make, that's the lady who makes you read books. She's hard because she has very high expectation. So I think they ran back down to the kindergarten wing and said, she's really gone crazy now. She wants kindergartners to go to college. So I said, why can't we just have a kindergarten? So they thought if they never talked about it again, I would forget about it. But they also knew that I never forget anything. But I had hired a guidance counselor who was a high school counselor, and I had some reluctance about that because I wasn't sure she knew a lot about elementary. But I liked her. And she was walking down the hall about 2 weeks as people were lamenting about the fact that I wanted to send kindergartners to college. And she said, Miss Jessie, you know, when I was at the high school, I always had these college days. You think I could do it at elementary? And I thought, yeah, why not? And so I brought those kindergarten teachers back, and I said, okay, you don't have to send kindergartners to college, but why don't we have a kindergarten to college activity? And one of those teachers said, okay, I'll come back. And she came back and had a plan. And the plan was, well, on Monday, we're going to do, who is that, name that graduate. And so everybody put their, on a bulletin board, we had all of our pictures when we went to college. And I didn't have a picture because I decided I couldn't afford, I've never walked because it was just an expense that I decided. So I've never won the road to walk in college. But the kids would say, oh, that's Mrs. Da-da-da, and that's Ms., and they would name the graduate. And then they had a day where they had a college door day, where everybody decorated their doors in the school, and it was a week of activities. And on Friday, the kindergartners sang their song, and we had these little, and I brought you a disc of that, by the way, and they would put their kindergarten caps on, and all of us put our kindergarten caps, and we would have people from universities come in and talk about how to get into their university. The parents would come on Friday, how to get loans, and we did a whole week of activities. So at Virginia Tech, I said, well, maybe not kindergartners, how about my 5th graders? And because prior to that, I had, during that week, during spring break, I had this activity where I told the parents, instead of just taking your child on a field trip, take your child to college. Put your child's feet on college ground. And we had a big bulletin board in the hall, and you got a little picture of a child with a little, the graduation cap, and you put this on the wall, and then it became a competition. Who took their kids to college? Just plant their feet on college. And parents were saying, kids were saying, oh, Mom, on vacation, there's a university. And one of my teachers said, here's a university. 4th grade or 5th grade. She walks into this university and said, hi, I'm thinking about going to college. Can you tell me about your university? She said, the people behind it just said, what? And we went to Strayer's, and Dr. Otagby talks about that. And so we would, you know, all the kids would go to some college by grade level. 5th grade went to Virginia Tech. And it was interesting because Vaughn is, there's a deep curve at Vaughn that you go around this curve and go into Vaughn. And that morning, Virginia Tech is 5 hours. 4 o'clock in the morning, I come around that curve and I see hundreds of lights. All of these parents. I noticed the same thing for Saturday Institute. We did that for 15 years. That after school everybody's tired, and why should I pay someone to teach kids who didn't teach them during the day you can tutor them in the afternoon? It didn't make sense to me. And my dad said, don't lose your common sense just because you have your MS, don't lose your CS, your common sense. So Saturday morning I'm thinking, you know, everybody's 2 hours, 6 weeks. Parents came to the Institute, did not offer a bus, nothing. 125 people. Parents cared about their kids. And these same parents were there. I came around that curve and kids were so excited. We rented a bus and 5 hours to Virginia Tech. And I remember the first trip when they saw that hillside, and there's a hillside that has Virginia Tech, and all the kids in the bus just started screaming, "We're there, we're there, we're there." And Virginia Tech did a phenomenal job. They had never had anybody on their campus, never elementary kids. And so the School of Education set this thing up where we went into the auditorium. Parents, there was actually weeping by all of us. I think it was just, I don't know how you put that into words. And you saw these little babies there.
You've done so much for this community.
Well, you were planting a seed for them, and so the School of Education they knew how to work with little ones, and they would say things like, "Anybody here draw?" And the kids, you know, I draw. And they would say, you could be an architect, or you could be, anybody like cars, you could design a highway. We have anybody like music, and you could be this type of an engineer. You can be anybody you want to be. And then they took them out and they took them to their STEM lab, and they took them to the physics lab, and they took DNA from a strawberry, and then the Corps cadets came and they helped them, and then the big treat for the kids was when they went to the cafeteria, because they really just didn't know what to do. Virginia Tech has some of the best cafeteria, I'm told, of all the universities, and they had all these different venues, and the kids didn't know what to do, and they only had 30 or 40 minutes for lunch, and some were grabbing food because they couldn't make them. Miss Jessie, should I go over to the hot dog? Should I go, you know? And then now over here, oh, they've got a salad bar over here, and they would run around. Then they had an ice cream machine, and I was a little embarrassed because the kids got big glasses instead of using cones. please, you know. My mother would say, act like you've been somewhere. Don't go and and embarrass me. But they were just so excited about that possibility, and the parents were so excited about that opportunity. And then the people who lived in that area down there asked Virginia Tech, like, why would you invite somebody from Northern Virginia? You not let the people who live around Blacksburg. There are all these elementary schools. They've never been on the campus. And she said, because she asked. She was the only person to really ask. And so we planted their feet on college ground. So if you go to Vaughn, you'll see their walls at Vaughn. And, you know, eventually they named a wing in my honor over there. But their walls, and the walls, there's a, we call it the J-curve wall. The J-curve is that instead of the bell